All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets here for this Monday night showdown between the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints. And so let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of a game preview here, guys. So I have the game lines pulled up here for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, be the same for the Saints, just the opposite here. Looking at it, guys, it's a 14-point spread. All the sportsbooks agree with that as well. So it is expected that the Packers are going to be playing with the lead and a massive lead. This game should be a blowout. Like, this is a very high spread here. And looking at the game total, this is a little bit lower scoring than I would have expected. Only 42 points. A couple sites have it at 42.5. BetMGM. I guess just BetMGM has it 42.5. So kind of pretty much all the sites are agreeing with how this game is going to go. Now, injury-wise, that's where I think we're going to get some of our value on this slate. So Alvin Kamara is going to be out in this game. We already know that. And so with that, we are going to be looking at Kendre Miller to, step up into a much bigger role. Now, I guess I could end up seeing maybe Jamal Williams get some work in this game, but it was Kendre Miller that ended up getting 88% of the snaps there. And the interim coach that they have right now has been pretty vocal about wanting to get Kendre Miller involved in the game plan and just in the offense in general. So I do expect him to just be stepping in mostly into that Alvin Kamara role. And so, guys, actually one of my favorite bets is going to be betting on him to get over 2.5 receptions in this game. And this is a bet, whether you're betting on like PrizePicks, Underdog, or just a traditional sportsbook bet, I'm going to like it. So on PrizePicks or Underdog, it's going to be about a 50.5% edge there. And if we look on kind of more the traditional sportsbooks sites, what we're going to notice is that all of them basically have it at that line there as well. There are a few sites like Fliff and BetMGM that like him a little bit more than some of the other sites, like BetOnline AG only is giving him about a 53% chance. So definitely some varying lines going on there. But to me, guys, looking at the game script of this game, it's going to promote more of a pass-heavy script here for the Saints. Again, they're going to be 14-point dogs. And if you look at this matchup with the Green Bay Packers, they have actually given up the most receptions to opposing running backs over the last 4 weeks, averaging about 7.3 over the last 4 weeks. Now, they have also given up about 54 receiving yards to opposing running backs as well over the past 4 weeks as well. So definitely giving up a lot of work in the receiving game. And so with that, given the game spread, given the game script, given his likelihood to be the leading snap share getter, I feel like this number is a little bit too low. I know he hasn't been that involved catching passes just yet, but we know Alvin Kamara has been used that way a bunch. And so I think this is a pretty solid bet that we are getting here. All right, so another bet that I'm going to like in this game is going to be sticking with that Saints passing game and looking at their starting tight end, Juwan Johnson, to get over 3.5 receptions. Again, looking at the Green Bay Packers defense, they've given up a bunch of receptions to opposing tight ends over the past 4 weeks. In that span, they've given up 6.75 receptions to opposing tight ends and about 70.5 receiving yards. Okay, they've given up the third most receptions to opposing tight ends. And if you look at Juwan Johnson, some people might see Foster Moreau in there, seeing the role that he had last week, who ended up having a good game. But no, it has been Juwan Johnson. He was on 77% of the routes, whereas Foster Moreau only 43. Okay, so that tells me enough there. Juwan Johnson should also be the leading snap getter in this game here between the two tight ends. And so to me, that tells me that we should be looking at Juwan Johnson. Now we look at his game log. Last week, you would have thought, given the game script, that he would have got more targets. I believe he didn't have any until like the second half. 3 targets, ended up with two receptions, 12 receiving yards. But prior to that, guys, had been pretty involved. So 5, 7. And then we really can't go back too far because Taysom Hill was in there. Alvin Kamara was obviously in there. It was different offense going on in there. And so a little bit of guessing game. We need those snaps to be there. I would say that's the biggest concern, is maybe those snaps not being there for him. But all in all, I think that should be a pretty solid bet for us. And for what it's worth, guys, the line is kind of right in the middle there as well. Like 2.6 is heavily favored for him to get over 2.5 receptions. Okay, so there's a lot of different lines out there. So like we look right here on FanDuel. FanDuel is heavily favoring the under at 3.5 receptions. Okay, minus 140 is what they're giving him. Whereas we look at something like DraftKings, they have it at minus 175 to get 2.5 receptions. So chances are he's going to get 3 receptions. That's what that is telling us there. And so if PrizePicks were to give us it at 3, I actually think I'd be fine with just taking that as a standard bet at 3 receptions, knowing that's probably just going to be a push. And then from there, guys, sticking with the Saints, but not going to be as like many bets that I like need to go on my way to target. But I still don't mind Kevin Austin as well. Again, given the game script, it should be a game in which the Saints are playing from behind and thus having to throw the football a little bit more. And honestly, probably going to be softer coverage, especially in the second half. Both like him and Kendre Miller are players that do make logical sense to get some work even in a blowout. Whereas Juwan Johnson, you could argue maybe not. Kevin Kevin Austin has been kind of the leading snap getter after all those injuries that the Saints have had, getting 76% of the snaps last week, and that's basically right on par with his route share as well. Now, I do think it's worth calling out that the Green Bay Packers have been pretty good against stopping opposing receivers, so that's why it's not exactly a bet I'm going to need to go out of my way to target. But honestly, I kind of mentioned this, I think it was last week, with Caleb Williams, where I'm like, I think Caleb Williams is going to have a good game, but I really just want to focus on betting on him in the second half because he's just been going off in the second half. That's kind of how I feel about Kevin Austin Jr. here, where we might not need to go on his receiving yards overline there, but maybe we can just find a good edge by betting on him live for like a second half prop, because again, softer coverage in that second half. They're going to be playing from behind. He should still get the snaps because he's a younger player. It makes sense. I do like him as a talent, though. Okay, guys, I'm going to get a little bit crazy here with this next bet. Jumping on into the Green Bay Packers. I actually like Chris Brooks to potentially score a touchdown. Now, this is not a bet that you should go crazy with by any means, but I think logically speaking, it does play out. Now, first and foremost, like I do want to say, I wish that this payout was much better. Okay, only 4x doesn't seem to be that great. This is a bet that I think is going to be better on a traditional sportsbook site, better, more so than like PrizePicks or Underdog for that matter. But let's talk through it. So Chris Brooks is someone that should be the second RB in this game. He's kind of been working his way into that role already, and he ended up outsnapping Emmanuel Wilson by a decent amount. Now, that being said, like about 20% of the snaps, still not a lot. Josh Jacobs is clearly the workhorse running back. And that being said, like in the second half, if this game is a blowout, like we're really just betting on one quarter for us to get a lucky touchdown, right? That's basically it. But I think it could play out. They're 14.5 point favorites. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers would not be throwing the football as much. And if we are betting on them to win by that much, like we're already thinking that's going to happen, and Chris Brooks does end up being the RB2, who kind of has been that, I could see them using him in a short yardage situation at the goal line to score a touchdown. Now, don't go crazy with that, but I do think it's kind of a fun bet. Now, guys, I want to go ahead and talk about the Green Bay Packers receivers, because really the game that they all had last week was exactly how you would expect it to go. Honestly, like it was on par with the expectations. It played out extremely well. So we did see Jaden Reed get more involved, had a very good rushing day, which is crazy to say for a receiver, right? 3 rush attempts, 27 yards, ended up having 6 targets and 5 receptions, all in short yardage gains, which, again, not too shocking, especially with Romeo Doubs being back. Okay, so we saw Reed ended up playing 61% of the snaps, whereas Doubs ended up playing 75% of the snaps, which going back to the start of the season, that's what we would have expected. And so we saw Doubs have a good game. I kind of mentioned that I thought he had a good chance to score a touchdown. I really like betting on Jordan Love to score 2 touchdowns. I like the idea of betting on Romeo Doubs to score a touchdown as well. Did not see him scoring 2 touchdowns. That was kind of crazy. But the thing with it is Doubs is Jordan Love's kind of red zone threat. He helps out Jordan Love in the red zone. Thus, obviously, that would decrease the likelihood for Josh Jacobs to be able to score multiple touchdowns in a normal game. I wouldn't consider this a normal game. A team being favored to win by 14 points is not a normal game. Now, that being said, I do see Romeo Doubs going out and having a good game. So, assuming that he does play his full snap share, I think he will have a good game. Okay, so I want to point out his receiving yards that he's gained, right? 50, 62, only 18 against Tennessee. Tennessee's a tough pass defense. Then 39, 48, 94, 72, 28 against Detroit. A little bit worrisome there. 17, 54, and 40. Now, why is that important? And so, guys, I actually like the idea of betting on Doubs to get over 37.5 receiving yards starting out there on PrizePicks. I think that's a very good line. He has consistently gotten this over, and assuming he still plays that same snap share, which is the expectation, right? Like we don't see that changing. Why would it change? Unless the game is a blowout. And again, 14.5 point favorites, it probably will be a blowout. When will the blowout occur? We don't exactly know. Probably early and pretty fast. Now, that does reduce kind of the likelihood of him playing a lot of snaps. Like we're probably going to get 55% of the snaps rather than the typical 70 to 75% of the snaps. So we are going to reduce the amount of plays that he's going to make. But like in the NBA, we do worry about blowouts affecting a player's likelihood to get it over or under for that matter as well. Typically speaking, I'm fine being on the players with their overs on the team that's projected to win by a lot, because those players are going to be part of the reasons as to why that does occur. It does suck that we are reducing the amount of players we can essentially be on, though, because of the blowout risk. So that is the risk there. I think that's a good bet for us. So Dobbs over 37.5 receiving yards. I think that number will go up to 40, but he has consistently gotten that over, and it's a decent matchup going against the Saints, who are just a banged up team in general. And then, guys, let's talk about Christian Watson. So predictably so, like last week, I was like, all right, what is going to happen with his snaps? It's probably going to go down a decent amount. He had been basically not leaving the field, playing 90% of the snaps because you need to get Wicks some snaps, but obviously Reed was going to work back in there. So we did see it be spread out. So Watson ended up playing 77% of the snaps. So still the leading snap share getter, which again, not really shocking. He has looked good, right? Like if you've been watching him, he's looked good. After that drop against the Niners, and even if you include that, he's been pretty solid. 6 targets last week, 3 receptions, 56 receiving yards. And again, like I think the lines are just a little bit too low as a whole in this game for like honestly everyone. But again, it's because that game's projected to be a blowout. He has consistently gotten the overs for his receiving yards, but more so with Watson, I'm definitely more so worried about the game being a blowout and really affecting his likelihood to get his overs because they just won't need to take the deep shots that he has been effective with recently. So can he get this longest reception one? I still think so. Like we've been kind of betting on that a little bit here with Christian Watson. I could see that hitting. But again, he's probably the one player where I'm not getting in on as much as I would like to. Then let's talk about Dontavian Wicks. So I don't mind him to get over 1.5 receptions. He did end up playing 47% of the snaps last week, and he is someone that would probably still get some playing time in a blowout. So I think, if anything, his snaps could only go up. Okay, so did end up playing 47%, which was down from the 60% that he was playing without Romeo Doubs. That makes sense. But there is so I don't mind that. That's a solid bet. But there is one player that could change that if he is active in this game because I don't know what Matt LaFleur is going to do. And I hope he sits because I don't think he's all that good. And guys, that's going to be Luke Musgrave. So if he does end up playing, then I could see all the Green Bay Packers receivers maybe getting like 1 or 2 less snaps, maybe Wicks, maybe 4 or 5 less snaps, which does add up, right? Luke Musgrave, though, to me, would most likely just take over for Ben Sims, especially in the first game back. And so if he's inactive, I like that more. Just I want to be inactive in this game. But at the same time, in a game where you are projected to win by that much, like you could kind of work him in. So that's a little bit of a concern that I have. And also with that, like how many snaps then would Tucker Kraft end up getting? So Tucker Kraft has been getting about 90% of the snaps. And then Ben Sims, I mentioned, got about 30% of the snaps last week. They do some 2 tight end sets. Again, I think that's where Luke Musgrave would be working in. Now, the Saints have been extremely good against stopping opposing tight ends. One of the most difficult matchups in the league, actually, for opposing tight ends. So Tucker Kraft has been someone I've been liking this whole year. And so I could see potentially betting on his over receiving yards, but at the same time, I don't know if we exactly need to. Now, Matt LaFleur and the matchups, like it doesn't really matter all too much. Like he's going to work Tucker Kraft around, like Tucker Kraft's been lining up in the slot a decent amount and everything like that. But it does worry me a little bit. And at the same time, maybe that's why we could see someone like Reed struggle a little bit, who operates a little bit more in the middle of the field. Like Tucker Kraft does as well. I think that's what the tight end snaps to me. That's how I read that. So guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the 9 to 5 bets of the day. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the website. Use the promo code KEEPCASHING to get 10 or 20% off your first 9 to 5 month membership. So it'll take that $10 membership and make it $8 for the first month. All right, guys, so this is just purely kind of a game stack build where we're just betting on the Saints to be playing from behind here. So Kevin Austin, again, I kind of mentioned I don't mind that bet, just more as a second half bet. So like if you like, just be on the lookout for it. Like I think it's a better second half bet. Just like if it's half of this 11.5 receiving yards in the second half, I'd be much more willing to do that. Juwan Johnson over 3.5 receptions. Again, I think it's a decent one. The Packers have given up a decent amount of receptions to opposing tight ends. Same thing for the running backs as well. Again, given game script, it's going to promote more of a pass-heavy script. And Romeo Doubs went with him here. I just think he has the best chance to get this over, as he consistently has done thus far this season. And then just showing you guys a little bit of a different kind of way of betting this game as well. Like Tucker Kraft maybe lower receiving yards. If Luke Musgrave does end up playing, that increases the likelihood of that bet hitting. Unfortunately, Matt LaFleur just likes Luke Musgrave, I think, a lot more than his talent has displayed. Romeo Doubs, honestly, guys, it's 1 yard difference, but just bet him on PrizePicks there instead. It could end up being the difference between the cash in or not cash in. And then Kevin Austin, again, I kind of mentioned I think he's a better second half bet, but I wanted to put that in there to call it out to you guys. Christian Watson, I don't mind the idea of betting on him. Again, like I think we want to do one pass catcher. Okay, so Dontavian Wicks, I do like, again, more of a game script type of build there where he gets a little bit of work in the second half. Now, yes, it's going to be a run-heavy script in the second half, but you're going to have to throw it a little bit, and so I don't mind Wicks there as well. Juwan Johnson, like if he does end up getting over 3.5 receptions, like I mentioned as a demon bet, he's going to be able to get over 28.5 receiving yards seemingly there as well. Then Chris Brooks, anytime touchdown. It's a fun bet. Don't go crazy with it, but I do think it could play out. Like you could make some good correlated bets with that there as well, right? More pass heavy script for the Saints, and then Chris Brooks late touchdown in the game. So kind of a fun bet there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a bunch. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools, make sure to head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to those tools for just $10 a month. But when you use the promo code Keep Cashing, get the first month for $8. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with all your bets. And as always, let's keep cashing.